Hello, everyone. This is Richard Kuzami, and I'm president of the Old Astoria Neighborhood Association. And we want to welcome you to our March 8th monthly meeting, when we're going to be going over some topics that are of importance to the Long Island City Astoria waterfront area and Old Astoria. A few things before we get started. You are watching this either the stream on YouTube or Facebook. If you have any questions, all you have to do is put them in the chat. They will be shared with us. We will do our best to respond to all the questions you ask. Also, I'd like to begin with some recent news, some issues that have come up quickly. First of all, the most important thing I think that's happening for businesses and for residents is there's new sanitation set out times starting on April 1st. They're going to be basically moving the time from 4 o'clock set out to 8 o'clock for garbage bags, and I think there's a clause for 6 o'clock for containers. There is more specific information on that. If you go to the chat, you'll see a link to the article, and please check it out and make your plans accordingly. Secondly, exciting for the neighborhood is that the Wildflower Studio, this is the Robert De Niro run movie studio, 19th Avenue, and it is going to have 11 sound stages, and it's going to be a great asset for our community. The topping off happened about a week ago, and it's projected to finish in 2024. So we're all looking forward to that. And we also plan on working as strong as we can to ensure that as many jobs as possible go to local residents, particularly when operational. This is one of our initiatives that we're already working with Wildflower on. Next, we had a recent op-ed. It was in Cranes and also the Gazette, and it's also accessible on our website. And this has to do with bike lanes and traffic controls. One thing that we think is quite important that's not often addressed is the fact that we really feel that bike lanes need their own separate timed lights and traffic controls. This is extremely important. Frankly, as far as we're concerned, it's prejudicial. Pedestrians and automobiles have their light signals and controlled signals like that. Bike lanes primarily do not. So what we're calling for is that no bike lanes be constructed without the appropriate traffic controls, and that lanes that do not have them, get them installed as soon as possible. So if you want, again, you'll see the full discussion. Again, it will be in the comments in the chat. So we do hope you support that. And lastly, we wanted to mention that the Department of Transportation is extending the car share program, and there will be quite a few spots available locally within our area. These car shares, like zip cars, are going to be different. In prior configurations of this, they were keeping the cars in parking lots and in private parking lots. Now they will actually be on the streets. There will be designated spots within our district. I think there's around 30 of them, but I'm not sure exactly. But again, you have more information in the map of the projected spots. And you'll find a link to that in our chat. So please check that out. Okay. So I'd like to start the program we're very, very happy to have Deputy Inspector Kenneth Gorman from the 114 Precinct, along with Community Affairs Officers Carlos Chacon and Gabe Tovar, join us. This is the first time that the inspector has joined us. These times need, as much as possible, cooperation and working together between all aspects of the community. We think that's very, very important. And we'd like to take the advantage of anything we can do to facilitate good relations between everybody and to, again, make sure that everybody's quality of life is not affected by safety issues. So with that being said, Deputy Inspector, can you join us?
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Just working through the technology here. I apologize. So great. I wanted to. I just wanted to start with, some of the successes we're having in the command overall, and then I can touch base on anything specific you want to talk about. We, we're really having a very good year. We're for the 28-day period. We're down in 4 of the 7 major crimes. We're even in another one. We Our increases seem to be, once again, like I've been saying since I've been here, focused around the property crime, which is not a good thing, but much better than the violent crime, in my opinion. But overall, we're down almost 7% for the 28-day period. So crime is definitely heading in the right direction in the 114th precinct. In addition to that, the work that these officers are doing is just incredible. So when you look at our major crimes, we're up in arrest for major crimes. For the 28-day period, we were up 4%. But when you look at the last week, we were up 72% in arrest for major crimes. So the way we're driving down crime is by taking care of it, right? Getting people off the street that are committing these crimes, and the cops here are doing an amazing job. So, like I said, where our focus, well, I shouldn't say our focus, but where our problematic areas continue to be is in the property crime. And to that end, and we are going to be doing a crime prevention seminar event tomorrow. Excuse me, on Friday at Mount Carmel, across the street from the church, in the basement there. This is going to be a kind of a multifaceted event. It will cover crime prevention, which will be a huge part of it, as well as victim services, which will include, those who have been victims of general crime, anything financial crime. It'll include domestic violence victims. We'll have services for them, and we are hopefully going to have somebody. We're working on getting somebody for survivors of sexual assault that will be there to speak to regarding, the proper way to report sexual assault, the resources that'll be available to them if they're a survivor of sexual assault. So we're hoping to get that piece in place as well. In addition to that, we are going to have youth services there. So we will have our youth strategies division and our youth coordination officers talking about all the plethora of, I always say, of youth programs that the NYPD not only runs but supports. So a lot of those include the Explorer program, which I'm very passionate about building up here in the 114 again, making sure those kids have a place to come and learn about policing, but also learn just how to be a contributing member of society, how to be a happy member of the community, and to meet new friends and get new experiences. We also have something called Girls Talk, which is for adolescent girls. We now have a new program for adolescent boys that they're actually just starting tonight. We're going to be talking about the cops and kids stuff with the Police Athletic League and everything in that area. In addition, we're going to be talking about traffic safety. Everybody knows we had a very tragic incident here a couple of weeks ago. We lost a beautiful 7-year-old girl to a traffic collision, and we're going to be out there talking about traffic safety, especially as it pertains to the areas of schools and with children. So that'll be there as well. We're going to have a lot of partners there. We've included a lot of the local officials as well as the civic associations. So if you'd like to attend, it's 5 to 8 on Friday night. And like I said, it's going to be at Mount Carmel. It's the building across the street from the church in the basement. And there should be plenty of great information there for people to get. What else? Going back to some of the time, these are things I keep saying over and over, but I'm going to keep saying them until we get everything corrected. The grand larceny autos, the thefts of cars. We were actually down last week. We're only slightly up for the 28-day period, which is incredible because we were up 50% last year in auto thefts. So we are moving in the right direction, but we are still seeing a number of auto thefts. And one of the things that we need to do to combat that is, educate people on leaving their vehicles unsecured. So what we saw on the 30th Avenue was one kind of, I don't know, central point for it, but people leaving their vehicles running unlocked in the middle of the street while they're running into stores. And I know you've probably heard me say this over and over again, but at different meetings, it takes under 2 minutes to steal a car when it's locked. So you can imagine when it's running and unlocked, how quickly that these guys can take that vehicle. So we're going to get that information out there, of course, on Friday, but it's very important to share that with members of the community that, unfortunately, there are people out there that will take advantage of that situation and grab that vehicle. In addition to that, we've seen a lot of thefts from vehicles. So a lot of people are leaving valuables in their vehicle. And like I always say, we should live in a perfect world where nobody takes anything from anyone, but unfortunately we don't. So my advice would be, take the valuables out of the vehicle, put it in your home. If it's valuable enough and you think you should, put it in a safe. But wallets, computers, things like that, my advice would be not to leave those in vehicles. So, and that's what we're seeing, unfortunately. When it comes to the thefts of cars and thefts from cars, one other thing that we're seeing is a concentration. We saw this last year, and we're starting to see it again this year. A concentration on Honda products, and then that also includes Acuras, which is actually made by Honda Corp. So we're seeing numerous Honda vehicles. Last year it was the CRVs. They continue to be at a higher rate than other vehicles, but not as much as last year. But Honda CRVs, Hondas in general, and now we're seeing the theft of tires and rims, mainly from Honda vehicles as well. So if you own a Honda vehicle, that's just a little more information on the need to secure that vehicle. We have worked with Honda. With the crime prevention officer has been out to the Honda dealerships in the neighborhood. They've agreed, and we're going to follow up with them, but they've agreed to hand out some crime prevention information at their dealership. So if you're buying a Honda vehicle from them, you'll probably get a little bit of extra information on how to secure that vehicle. But I also have officers that have been reassigned to deal with the grand loss in the auto condition in the command. So like I said, the auto thefts are moving in the right direction. They're still not where I'd like them to be. Of course, I'd like them to be at zero, but we are up quite a bit for the year. Yeah, we're up quite a bit for the year. Much better for the 28th day in the week period. So moving in the right direction, but we got a lot of work to do. So we'll be out there taking care of that. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to mention tonight. I think that's about it for the overview. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to take some questions.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. We do have some questions in the chat, but I'd like to ask a couple before we start. Some people have been asking where in the precinct can we expect to see street patrols with officers walking the streets as opposed to with vehicles? Are there particular areas if and where this is happening?
Absolutely, yeah. So my field training unit would be my largest foot patrol. So there's 11 officers assigned to the new field training unit. They are deployed in the Steinway corridor. So Steinway Street would be the focal point of that, basically from Astoria Boulevard south to Northern Boulevard, with a concentration on the northern half of that zone. Also down 30th Avenue and Broadway off of Steinway, you'll see them as well. So that is obviously a very busy corridor for us here in the 114th precinct when it comes to traffic conditions as well as crime conditions at night around the nightlife. So that's where they are now. If there's a condition in other areas of the command, we're more than happy to assess that and see if moving them would be useful. So, but right now, that's where they're concentrated.
Good. And also having to do with our neighborhood here, the PSA 9 is a very strong part of what our community is involved in, and a lot that goes on down here. Could you go over a little bit more about your relationship with PSA 9 and especially what's happening with public housing down in this neighborhood?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, one thing to note, and this is not an official thing, but it's truth. Myself and Inspector Sullivan have known each other close to 20 years now. So we have a very good working relationship, which I think benefits the community tremendously because we have a seamless communication. The developments now, crime overall in the developments, the 4 developments that make up the 114th precinct is down overall. We have seen some violence in the Astoria development in the last few weeks. There have been a couple of arrests. In fact, one this morning for an attempted shooting that occurred just about a week ago, about 6 days ago. So we are dealing with some violence in the area of the Astoria housing development, but overall crime is down in the PSA overall. The coordination, like I said, we have daily contact, myself and Inspector Sullivan. So, and in addition to that, her deployment within the developments is supplemented by my deployment. So my specialty units, as well as my Sector David, would cover the 3 large developments on the west side of the command. So that would be Astoria, Ravenswood, and Queensbridge. That's in my Sector David. So my patrol sector, as well as my neighborhood coordination officers, Sector David for the NCOs, are routinely in those developments, working hand in hand with the PSA. And my specialty units, my public safety and my neighborhood safety teams and my special operations lieutenant have been specifically in that area, especially in the area of Astoria houses because of the recent violence. So we're working hand in hand on a daily basis. If you go into that area right now, you're going to see PSA officers as well as precinct officers there, literally shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, one thing that many people commented on over the last couple of years has been, at least for low-level crimes, there's been sort of a lack of respect or a lack of young people scared of any consequences, put it that way. And it's manifested itself not only in quality of life, but it's affected a lot of our small business. You can't go into a pharmacy now without having to call somebody to get your toothpaste, from behind a piece of glass. So it does affect everybody. I'm glad to hear that you're doing the street patrols, and also I'm glad to hear that you said that you'd be talking about police athletic league activities. We'd love to see more and more of that. That's a comment that we've been advocating for years. As far as we know, there was no PAL facilities at all in Queens. Right. So we would certainly hope that could change. And that's something we've advocated for a long time.
Right.
And along with that, another topic later today will be the pool closure that's going to happen for this year. And like anything else, when you lose facilities like this, particularly for young people, and it does affect seniors also, don't get me wrong, and the whole community, but it's important, I think, that we have other activities to fill their time. And this is something where, if you have any ideas, or is this something that the Police Athletic League can help with, moving people to other facilities where they can recreate or whatever.
Yeah. So I will say, and this is something I brought up, a concern that I brought up when we met with the borough president just a couple of weeks ago there. I brought it up to his staff that I'm very concerned about losing the pool, and possibly for 2 years from what I'm hearing, possibly for 2 summers. So a couple of things that I've spoken to people about, the Boys and Girls Club has offered space if they can work it into their schedule, if their space is open, and we have programming that we want to use that space, for. They're open to that. We're also trying to build partnerships with some of the larger schools and houses of worship here that may have space as well, whether it be auditoriums or gyms that we can use for youth-related programs. So we're trying to find as many options as possible for what the kids in the neighborhood can be doing. We have a couple of months, right? So Once you get towards the end of May, into June, that's your kids are in school less, especially the high school kids. They start to have half days and things of that nature. So we want to make sure we have something set up before then. I think there's a lot of people in the neighborhood though that are willing to help. We just have to put the programs in place. So one of the things I'm actually going to be attending, and it's something I'd love to replicate here. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be attending something that's run out of our borough office. They do a Taekwondo program where they have kids going once a week to learn Taekwondo from a police officer who's also a black belt in Taekwondo. And they're going to be doing a belt promotion ceremony tomorrow evening. And so that's something, if we could find space and the people to do it, I'd love to replicate that here in the 114th. But we do, as I mentioned the other day, the other thing I want to mention with the youth programming, we just, the department just allowed us to increase our youth coordination team. So we were slated for 3 officers when I got here. The majority of the time I've been here, I've had either 1 or 2 based on, people leaving, people being out on sick leave. So now I have it up to 6, and they have a dedicated sergeant. So there's 7 police officers, a sergeant, and 6 officers specifically assigned to youth, just in the 114 precinct. So I think that's a powerful unit. They had a explorers meeting here the other day. It's it wasn't a huge number, but it was the most explorers I've seen in this building since I've been here at one time, which was great. And we're looking to build that out. So I said, now we have the personnel to do it, and we just need the partnerships from the community and to get the information out as best as we can about the programs.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, as a matter of fact, if you're able to stick around at all, Parks will be on the program. So I'm sure that you might, in fact, both of our presenters, you're also going to have a presentation by SBS and QEDC on our business districts, where you are, as a matter of fact, running your patrols. And we were also involved in part of that program, and something that did come up quite often was the security issues in the business districts. So these are all good things. I want to go to the chat. There's a couple of questions here that I'd like to ask from the audience. First of all, let's see. Well, this one I've heard before. Will the 114 stop parking all over the sidewalk around the precinct? I know there's nothing more than you would love to do than to be able to stop parking, but
so this issue has come up, obviously, well precedes me, and probably before I was born even. But I've started to work on the parking conditions here. One of the things that you'll see a tremendous improvement on is the double parking on Astoria Boulevard South. So that I made that change just recently, where I do not allow my officers to double park on Astoria Boulevard South, with the exception of a major emergency, if they've got to, get somebody in or out of the precinct in a super rush. But for the most part, you will not see that double parking anymore. We'll keep Astoria Boulevard South flowing as best as we can. The parking around the precinct. So we're looking for options. Unfortunately, what I've explained, and this is I understand it's our problem, not the community's problem, but I have about over 300 people that work in this building between my precinct, 3 other units that are co-located here, our investigations units, our detective bureau, and parts of the community affairs bureau. So there's well over 300 people that work here. The public transportation option is just that single subway line that's 2 blocks from the base that most of those people cannot access easily based on where they live. So many of my officers live out, going east in Queens into Long Island. So most of them are stuck driving, and we are trying to find an option for where we can put those vehicles so they're not, even in the vicinity of the precinct. We just don't have an option right now. So if there is an option out there, I'd love to work with somebody to figure out if there's something else we can do there. The other condition that should be remedied, shortly, is we've gotten backed up with what we call voucher vehicles, vehicles that were taken into the custody of the police department. So you may have seen on the news about a month ago, our facility in Brooklyn had a fire. That is one of our pounds where we store a lot of these vehicles. So they haven't been accepting vehicles at the rate they were because of that fire. That is in the middle of being cleaned up by the department. So once that happens, we'll have more of our spaces back when we get those vehicles that have been vouchered or confiscated out of the way. So that should help a little bit as well. But like you said, my challenge is finding parking for 300 people that work in this building. And I am open to suggestions. And like I said, I understand it's my challenge, not yours, but I would love any help that we can get on that, to that end.
Yeah, the community board for many, many years had an item where they wanted to cover the Grand Central there and turn it into parking for you guys. So
we would take it. We would definitely take it. And that would relieve a lot of issues, I think, and like I said, what I can fix immediately, I have, and will continue to, if I see an immediate solution to it. Like I said, the double parking, just to me, it wasn't justified. It was, I think most of the time it was being done out of, we'll say convenience, as opposed to need. And that's why I put an end to that. I don't want to be a burden on the community. I want us to be, good neighbors. So as we move forward, we'll continue to seek options as far as that's concerned.
Okay. Next question from Nadine Haman. What do you suggest to do about ongoing harassment and vandalism on our home and our property from our next door neighbor? We recorded the incidents and reported it multiple times to the 114 precinct.
Okay. Well, it seems like based on that, there may be criminal charges there. I'd have to look a little more into the incident. If you've already reported it to us, then I'd say the follow-up is if you want to get in touch with Officer Chacon, and we will handle this directly, myself and Officer Chacon. I'll look into the reports that you've made and see what next steps can be done. I'd really have to look at the details first before I can make that determination. But any vandalism, that vandalism, if it's to the extent of what we would call criminal mischief, where they're actually damaging private property, there could be an arrest made in a situation like that. So my suggestion would be to reach out to Officer Chacon, or I'll have him reach out to you, Nadine, right? And we'll look into the reports that you've made and see where those investigations stand. What I would suggest, of course, is not to get personally involved to the best of your ability. We don't want to see anybody getting hurt or taking any action on their own when we can do it for you. And if we've gotten behind on that for some reason, I apologize, but I'm going to look at these reports myself and make sure that we take the next step for you.
Okay. And I guess you should put Carlos Chacon's contact information in the chat.
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
Okay, fine. If to put it in the chat, put it in the private chat, and then it will post it on the stream feed. Okay. Okay. Next question from Jen Forgash. What is the 114 doing about vehicles that have illegally obscured license plates, both parked and driving around, and cars that are parked on sidewalks, crosswalks, in bike lanes, too close to intersections? He said there are even cars right outside the 114 precinct that are blocking sidewalks. Thank you for your response.
Yeah, so as it pertains to the 114 precinct, like I said, that's something that I've been working on. So I will correct that with if I see any of that outside with the officers. They know that that's not tolerated, as well as the double parking. As it comes to the general vicinity of the 114th precinct, my traffic safety team does numerous operations at different areas. So if we have illegally parked cars in a certain area, the best thing to do is to give us a specific location or area that is concerning to you, and we will address that immediately. It is like, and I've said this too, it's a very large precinct. It's hard to get to every violation. So we ask that the community, if you can help us zero in on the areas that are most problematic for you, I will make sure that not only my traffic safety team, but my patrol vehicles, the sector vehicles, get out there and address those as well.
Okay. The next question is actually not for the NYPD. This is a DOT issue about removing the bike lanes and left turns on 21st Street. So, yeah, wait till the day we can bring the DOT down here. We'll have lots of fun. Okay. Let's see. My question about parking is all over the neighborhood, not just the 114th. Yes. Okay. So she's following up on that previous question. She's
Absolutely,
saying,
yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
I will say, I mentioned this at a meeting the other day, and just, there are many violations out there in the vehicle and traffic law and the parking regulations of the city of New York, and we do try to address as many of those as possible. My traffic, I went through the last 28 day, and I can get into the current 28 day, but the one that ended a week ago, we looked at the 6 officers assigned to traffic enforcement, specifically in this command, wrote over 300 moving violations in just a 28 day period. So that's, they are doing quite a bit of work out there, but there are a lot of violations out there, and I understand that. And that's why it's very helpful to get zoned in, and I kind of, just to put it in perspective, and this, like I said, it's not an excuse, just to put it in perspective. We have the bridge, right? So we have the Triborough Bridge. I believe it's a 40-mile-per-hour bridge. And everybody who comes off that bridge, the vast majority of them, I would say, are going over 40 miles an hour. But if I tried to stop everybody coming off that bridge for a speeding summons, it would just be unsustainable. It's literally thousands of cars, every hour that are coming over that bridge. So like I said, we have to prioritize. And the best way for us to prioritize is to find out what conditions are impacting the community the most. So getting that information to us and giving us direction is the best thing.
Okay. Okay, question. What will the NYPD start ticketing bicycles that break the law because they're causing many accidents?
That's we do ticket bicycles. I got to look at how many we have. I know one of the big concerns with bicycles is riding on the sidewalk. So that's something, as an officer, I actually enforce numerous times. I have to look into how much we've done there, but it's definitely something we do enforce. Can I say we've had a plethora of enforcement there? I can't say that right now, but I will look into that. And like I said, if we get it, I know that's all over the precinct. So if I ask for an area for that, I'm sure that's not going to be one specific area. But there are a lot of violations. If you could specify what type of violations you're looking at or concerned with? Like I said, one of the things we've heard a lot of concern about is the riding on the sidewalk. Obviously, riding the wrong way on some streets can be very problematic as well, especially the one-way streets, riding outside the bike lanes on bike lane designated streets. So if you could be more specific about your biggest concerns, and I'm sure you have a lot of them, but we can kind of focus in on that. Some of the more problematic corridors would be the best place to start.
Yeah, one other thing in conjunction with that, our position on trying to get traffic controls on bike lanes, getting timed lights, things like that. Not only would that help in safety, it would be much easier for you to ticket somebody if they're going through a red light, and things like that, which I think would be, I think would be helpful anyways. We do. There's a lot of other questions here concerning more about the area around the precinct and parking.
Okay.
I think pretty much answered, where we're at this point. We really look forward to it getting better, including the public transit. Okay, can the deputy inspector comment on the trend in illegal graffiti and the way for the community to mitigate it?
Oh, mitigation is that's we just made a great arrest the other day where we had some offensive graffiti in the command, my field training officers actually were able to identify the person. He was, we had a wanted flyer out for them, and they were able to identify the person walking around in the area of Steinway, actually, where they're deployed. And we were able to place the 2 gentlemen in custody for some offensive, we would call a hate crime graffiti. So we do see it as far as defending upon it. The best thing for us to solve these cases is video. So if you have a video outside either your home or your business establishment, that is a great tool. Does it always deter? No, but it does help us solve the crime, as it did in this case that I mentioned. The other thing that you can do, if you put that video system up, put up a sign that says, I have a video system. If they know the video system is there, most likely they're not going to want to be on video committing those types of offenses. So that would be, the first thing that I would think of to deter that activity.
Okay, there's one last question here, I think, because the other questions here have been already answered. And that would be, what is the best way to report illegally parked cars for the best response?
So for non-emergencies, we do recommend that people use the 311 system. If it's something that you feel is an immediate, danger, like something parked in the middle of the street, and say a car broken down in the middle of the Grand Central Parkway or something like that, then I'd advise you to call 911, and we'll get a response out there right away. If it's a consistent problem, you can call, like I said, you can call 311, but also if you want to send those complaints to Officer Chacon, we can have our neighborhood coordination officers deal with that if it's an ongoing condition. So if you have an area of the precinct by your home, by your business, where there's a consistent problem, we'll have the neighborhood coordination officers go out there and take a look at that. Their specific, their function rather is to deal with the conditions within their sector on that level. So the ongoing conditions, and find a lasting solution. That's what they're tasked with. So get us those, like I said, the specific locations are a big thing. And we'll have them address that.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's been very informative, and we're really happy to have you guys here. We look forward to having. We try and have a first responder every month that we have these meetings, a different one, and we look forward to seeing everybody again. If there's anything you would like to close with, anything that you would ask the community to do to help and facilitate and make your job easier, just you have a closing statement?
Yeah, sure. Just like I said, the big thing I want to get out right now, time sensitive, is Friday night at Mount Carmel. It's going to be a great event, a lot of good information. Education is key, especially when we're talking about these property crimes that continue to happen. So it's a great opportunity to come out, meet your officers, get some great information. Our crime prevention officer specifically will be there. So he can talk about some of the questions you even had tonight. We could expand on a little bit with the answers. Traffic safety is going to be there, so we can talk a little more directly about what the unit is doing for these different conditions. So if you want to come by and even let us know, the inspector was on the call the other day and he said I could come by and let you know about this corner that's problematic. We'll take that information that night too. So that's a big thing for us. And just the timely reporting of crime is the big thing. The best way we can address crime is that if we know about it as soon as possible. That gives us the best opportunity to retrieve evidence and to get perpetrators into custody. So I would say that's it. And just we want to continue to build partnerships. That's a big thing that's been a huge part of my career. I've worked in a unit called Collaborative Policing that was all about building partnerships. I worked in the Community Affairs Bureau. That's all about working with the community and building partnerships. And I think that's how we're going to be most successful here in the neighborhood. So if you have any ideas to build partnerships with us, whether it's for crime prevention, whether it's for youth outreach, we'd love to talk to you.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, I'll definitely see you Friday. Thank you so much for your time. And listen, everybody, we're going to put a link also in the chat in a minute for this event on Friday. So I hope to see everybody there. And Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, Victor, I'm sending over the link to you via text. If you could put it in the chat, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay. So next, as people may realize, for the last few months, we did not have any meetings here. The reason is that we had become involved in a program called Avenue NYC, which was created by the Small Business Services of New York City. And it was basically to do an inventory of some of the needs and requests of the business areas in Astoria, the business districts. We happen to work primarily on 30th Avenue and Astoria Boulevard, but there was coverage through every business corridor. And also, we were very happy to find one of our longtime volunteers, who's a host here tonight, Victor Prado, was actually working with and hired by Queens Economic Development Corporation, and he is running the program in the area. So we're very happy for his success, and we look forward to great things from him for many, many years. We'd like to start with bringing up Matthew O'Malley, who's with Small Business Services, and he's in charge of this particular program, Avenue NYC. So Matthew, would you like to join us?
Hello. So, hi everyone. I'm Matthew O'Malley. I'm a program manager at Small Business Services, and while I'm not in charge of the entire Avenue NYC program, I am a project manager for our work that we do in Queens. So I'll just start off by giving a some brief context on Small Business Services, what we do, and how it ties into this work in Astoria. So the tagline for Small Business Services is careers, businesses, and neighborhoods. And the way that works is that we have a few different parts of the agency. With careers, we do workforce development. With businesses, we do direct business support to help small businesses with regulatory compliance and with city contracting. And then neighborhoods is where we come in. So I work in the neighborhood development division, and we have a few different teams, and I'm on the neighborhood planning team. And what our team does is we have two grant programs, Neighborhood 360 and Avenue NYC, which have two different funding streams. And we use this money to do commercial district needs assessments and to put on a bunch of other different programs throughout neighborhoods in New York City. So the Avenue NYC program is what Victor and QEDC and also the Central Astoria LDC and Steinway bid are working on. And Avenue NYC is a competitive grant program created by SBS that funds and builds the capacity of community-based development organizations to execute commercial revitalization initiatives. And this is funded through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Community Development Block Grant Program, which targets investments in low and moderate income neighborhoods. And these grants provide multi-year commitments aimed at building the capacity of partner organizations in these neighborhoods to better prepare them to understand neighborhood needs, develop impactful programs, and sustain work in the community for at least 3 years. So if you want to learn more about the projects that we're working on, there should be a few links being shared with you. One should go to, hold on, where is it? There we go. So one should go to this neighborhood development map here, and you can use this to look at all the projects that our team has worked on since 2014. And if you can see here, you can see the study area for our Astoria Commercial District Need Assessment that is going on right now. And there should also be a link shared in the chat to commercial district needs assessments that we have completed in the past for a slew of different neighborhoods throughout New York City. So coming next fall, you should expect one for Astoria to be coming out soon based on the work that Victor and the QEDC and the Central Astoria LDC has done. So without further ado, I'll hand this off to Victor and let him get started.
Thank you, Matt. It's an honor to be here. I'm usually behind the scenes, but now that I'm here, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Richard, for this opportunity. Thank you, Matt, for all your help at Small Business Services. I will be presenting essentially our preliminary findings that QEDC, Queens Economic Development Corporation, alongside Central Astoria, what we've done in Astoria for the past 8-9 months. We've really hit the boots to the grounds. We've been walking up and down the corridors in Astoria, and it's exciting to finally share this with the community in terms of what Astoria people want, what residents are looking for, what merchants are looking for, and essentially what I like to explain to people is, okay, what are all these terminologies? What is this presentation? What are these reports? I like to say that at its core, it's really a snapshot to the health of life of Astoria, both commercial and the residents who do life in Astoria. So it's good, and I'm finally happy to share this. And I will go ahead and just share my screen. Give me one moment. All right. So again, my name is Victor Prado. I'm with the Queens Economic Development Corporation. QEDC, we are a nonprofit, and our mission for Queens Economic Development Corporation is to create and retain jobs through programming that assists small businesses. So you can see that as a primary reason why SBS reached out to us is that we're already working with the small businesses in the area. So it was an honor for us to kind of get involved in the CDNA. I would like to first go off of our agenda. So I'm just going to adjust here for a sec. So we're going to go through some neighborhood context, some key takeaways, some key findings regarding business inventory, storefront conditions, streetscape conditions, merchant and consumer surveys. What exactly does that mean? And then strengths, challenges, and opportunities that are present in a store. So if you see here on the corridor maps, although we try to get corridors that fully represent Astoria, we can't get every single block, every single street. But we believe that these corridors together make up the image or what Astoria represents. These corridors are the following. They're Ditmars, Astoria Boulevard, 30th Ave, Broadway, 36th Avenue, and then Steinway Street, along with the Steinway bid, which Central Astoria runs. Some key takeaways. Astorians take pride in the diverse community and demonstrate a strong sense of commitment and enthusiasm towards their neighborhood. Astoria's commercial corridors possess distinctive characteristics that cater to specific requirements of the community. Now, that being said, the residents of Astoria still would like even a greater variety of quality retail and more ethnic restaurants, along with coffee shops. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Victor, there's already a coffee shop in every corner. But Astorians want more. Here's a business inventory that we did of Astoria. Now, I can provide this information. I'll leave a link as well as my contact information. But I just want to go over and highlight the core data here. Dentists, doctors, medical services were ranked the #1 business of all the corridors, along with restaurants and hair, nail, and beauty salons. Now, it's important to note that if you actually add up the restaurant full service, right, and just to make the distinction there, if you're not familiar, a full service restaurant would be the traditional restaurant. You know, you sit down, there's a waiter, versus a restaurant which is like a limited service. You know, just put in your local gyro shop, you know, things like that, where it's kind of you're in and you're out. You're not really sitting there. There's no waiter. If you actually combine the full service and limited service restaurants, that actually becomes the #1 business type in Astoria. Now, I know most of us are familiar. If you just go to Astoria, you're like, man, there's a lot of restaurants here, right? Especially in the corridors that are kind of represented. So this does make sense that restaurants is both the full service and the limited services are the number one business in Astoria. Now, to break it down per corridor, you can see that the same pattern still applies. Restaurants, medical services, and then hair, nail, and beauty salons are essentially the top three of each corridor. Um, Given that Steinway has more of a more retail shops there on Steinway, that's why you see a bit of the outlier. But in general, most of Astoria is represented by those top three categories. Now, of all the businesses that we saw that the 10% were vacant. So this actually proves that could be a scary number if you're not familiar, but 10% is actually very low on the vacancy side for businesses. It's also important to note that in Astoria, the average life for a business is around 12 years. This just reinforces kind of that the Astoria community really backs their small business. All right. I know for a fact I'm here in Sunnyside, but I've been going to Astoria for the last 20 plus years. I like going to my specific pizza place. I like going to my specific gyro place. I like going out of my way, even if it's traffic or rush hour, to go to these local places because I actually enjoy supporting the small business because I know the owner and I know the people go in there. And it's nice to have that community feeling even in these small places. Here again, we have the vacancy rates per corridor. Thank you, Richard and his team, for covering Astoria Boulevard and 30th Avenue as well, Oana. But you can see here that Astoria Boulevard does have the highest number, which is more evident because you can see the vacant stores seem more in your face because the Astoria Boulevard corridor is actually smaller compared to the other streets. So when you see a vacant store, it's way more evident versus if you're just on Steinway or 30th Avenue that kind of get swallowed up by the next door store. Here's some examples of vacant stores on each of the corridors. Yeah, rest in peace, Ample Hills. I know a lot of us go there during the summer months. But if you don't know, now you know, and you can begin your morning process like I did. But Ample Hills, they closed down for the Christmas holidays, and then they just never opened up again. Some vacancies you can see that are actually on some prime locations. If you look at the Ditmars Boulevard one, that's right in the corner of Ditmars Boulevard and 31st Street. So generally, when these vacant stores stay vacant for a while, you can expect something big to kind of pop in there. But again, reinforcing that 10% vacancy, a lot of that 10% vacancy, if you look at 36th Avenue, is because of new commercial and residential buildings are being built as we speak. So although, don't just picture just 10%, vacant and empty lots are just sitting around Astoria, a lot of that within the 10% vacancy rate are actually just under construction buildings as well. So now we go to some storefront conditions. We went up and down the corridors and gave a rating to the best of our ability per corridor, 1 being the poorest, 5 being the best. And you could see that the average of all the corridors together give a 4.1, right? And most of us would agree that if you're going to experience Astoria for the first time, I have a lot of family who come out of the country, and I'll bring them to Astoria to kind of show them the best places to eat. And all of them essentially have the same reaction, which is, wow, Astoria is nice. Astoria is a good place. And most people agree, especially those who just do business here or who live here. It falls, mathematically speaking, we can say that Astoria is officially good, right? It's in between the 4 and the 5 range. It's 4.1 exactly. So next time someone tells you Astoria isn't good, we can say, I have the math to prove you wrong. Here's some examples, some graffiti that has been coming up. I want to thank again Precinct 114 Precinct that they brought this up. Graffiti has been an issue. Thankfully, there's our corridors. This one was taken on Broadway. The graffiti doesn't stay up for too long. It usually gets resolved pretty quickly, but it is something to note that it is, here and there. on the business streets. Here, I want to focus on a lot of the graffiti that has been going around in Astoria. Here are 3 different locations. I could say with confidence that most of the USPS drop boxes, have graffiti on them, or they're tagged with stickers. There might be garbage laid out at the wrong day, and it kind of just sits there. On Steinway Street, that's the municipal parking lot. It used to have one nice mural on it, but now it's kind of just become a graffiti grounds for, whatever comes next. These are things that we are trying to emphasize on because it does provide a cleaner look when everything is clean. And here's the feedback from the merchant and the consumer survey findings. We asked the business owners of those corridors, along with consumers who both live and do business in Astoria. Here are some merchant survey findings. Some top challenges that most businesses in Astoria include lack of parking, right, which is a surprise to no one. If you're in New York City, that will always be an issue. Even the police 114th district has problem parking. I think all the rest of us will have problems parking as well. And they're the ones who give out the tickets, so imagine that. Lack of parking, regulatory compliance, high commercial rents and leases, storefront improvements, finding skilled workers, and low foot traffic. I do want to note that the low foot traffic is, to a degree, a spectrum-based metric that if you go across 31st Street, right where the subway line is, the businesses that are closest to the subway line will obviously have more higher foot traffic, but as you go further away from the subway stops, the foot traffic becomes less and less. Resources for marketing, as well as sanitation and more open space, safety concerns, and the number one requested item from merchants has been landscaping and enhanced beautification of the street that the business is doing on. I can't tell you the number of times business owners were like, "Man, just please plant one tree, one plant. We would just like some green in front of our store." And I don't disagree. I think green is always better. Here are what people of Astoria are wanting. People who do both residents and do business there. But the consumers of Astoria, most, to surprise no one, shop at restaurants, retail stores. They go to pharmacies, coffee shops, and specialty food stores. Now, those of the survey have also requested, these are the top 5 categories of what they would like to see more in Astoria: quality retail stores, ethnic restaurants and coffee shops, bookstores, national retailers, and specialty food stores. I would say when it comes to quality retail stores, kind of just sharing this unofficial statistic with you guys, but can't tell you the amount of Trader Joe's was requested to be in Astoria. The closest Trader Joe's to us, I believe, is in Long Island City. I wish it was a Trader Joe's across the street from my apartment as well, but I would say in terms of quality retail stores, that was probably the number one requested. So just a fun fact for you guys there. Strength, challenges, and opportunities, and we're coming towards the end here. Some strengths: cultural and ethnic diversity. The number one thing that most business owners and consumers loved about Astoria was the diversity that is in Astoria. A strong sense of community and civic engagement. Again, excellent transportation accessibility via subway, bus, car, and ferry. Low vacancy rate. Average business life is 12 years. Strong core of long-standing business and institutions. There's an Irish bar on Broadway. The name escaped me at the moment, but there's an Irish bar that was officially established in 1902. Still around, still in business. Just to give you an idea. And there's a lot of new development. Again, that 10% vacancy rate in Astoria, a lot of that vacancy rate are new constructions that are currently ongoing. Some challenges: sparse offerings for quality retail, online competition for merchants, regulatory compliance, and high commercial rents. I would put Astoria in the category as like a high risk, high reward location for business. If you can make it in Astoria, you'll really make it. But it's very high risk with the high lease that is in Astoria, unfortunately. Lack of parking, double parking. Right, we can insert Steinway here. If you've ever driven through Steinway, That'd probably be your last time driving through Steinway. You're going to go the long way around because the double parking on Steinway is probably the worst in Astoria of the corridors. And sanitation issues. There are, we know in Astoria, the nice parts and the bad parts. And the nice parts are really nice. The bad parts have a lot of garbage. So that is something that has to be noted because, again, this report isn't just to, you know, give you the way that this report this serves to find our strengths and to also find where we are lacking so we can find solutions to those problems. And here's some opportunities: landscaping and enhanced beautification. Again, most people just want to see more green on their business districts. This district marketing and campaigns highlighting neighborhood assets. We all know that in Astoria, each of those corridors can be its own village in Queens, can be its own unique culture. So we know just bundling all of Astoria into one presentation doesn't do it justice, which is why we went to the individual corridors. But it's important that we work together and highlight each of those corridors' assets so we can bring more people there as well. Forge local civic groups and art community relationships. These are things that we're looking forward to do to bring more of Astoria together. When you are very diverse as we are in Astoria, that has a lot of strengths. One of the potential challenges that comes with that is being unified under one banner. But that is something that we see that is working in a positive way. And slowly but surely, we will come to that unification and kind of be banded together. Any questions anyone might have? But again, I want to thank Richard. I want to thank Matt as well. But here's my information. I'll be putting it in the chat as well. But if there's any questions for either me or Matt, we'll go ahead and take them.
Great job, Victor. It's great to hear you in this context. And
Yeah, thank you, Victor.
With you on this project. Good.
Thank you.
Nice. There's one question here. Let me see. I would be very curious to see how merchants' perception of how customers arrive at their stores compares with how consumers say they arrive. I'm not, let's see. No, looking for transport alternatives in the area. So,
Yeah, Victor, I have this data up if you'd like me to answer it real quick.
Yeah.
Hello, AFC. So we did not survey merchants on how they thought people arrived at their stores, but we did survey pedestrians about how they arrive to the stores that they shop at in Astoria. So for context, 85% of the people that we surveyed live in Astoria. So 65% of them walk to shop, 4% bike, 17% take a personal car, 8% take the subway, and 3% take the bus. And then those are the statistically significant responses.
interesting. I got a question for you guys.
Sure.
What do you see as this data is very interesting, and it's great to see everything quantified. There's basically things that we all feel and always felt about Astoria. But what do you see program-wise that might, help provide solutions to some of the issues? This program itself does not create programs specifically, but it will hopefully lead to programs. Do you have any ideas? Grants and for businesses, work on the streets, trying to get, like I said, some of the green done, things like that, these kind of things. Do you have any ideas as to how that might end up being created?
I could start off and then maybe Matt can take off. But again, this is like what you said. It's more of a snapshot as to what's currently going on in Astoria. A lot of what we felt, was reaffirmed through the data. But it's important that data exists because people could always just say, we feel this, we feel this, we feel that. But once there's hard data, then we can know, where the problems actually are. and then it's easier to create potential future programs or grants around that data, and then bring solutions to that data. So that really is at the heart of this, is not only to just provide a nice presentation, but it really is to provide the data of what most people are experiencing in the day to day.
Yeah, I think Victor summed it up very nicely. I would say a commercial district needs assessment is a foundation to build on, and you're not just going to build a foundation and then walk away from building the whole house. So basically, this CDNA, it will identify what the needs of the community are, and it's publicly accessible, so other neighborhood groups can read it to find things that need to be worked on. Other city agencies can read it for context if they want to endeavor to work in certain neighborhoods, well, in this case, Astoria. And internally at Small Business Services, our other teams can use it to inform their outreach to neighborhoods. For example, if the CDNA identifies that there's a strong need for certain services for businesses, such as regulatory compliance or lease assistance or things of that nature, then that will help SBS tailor its services to the neighborhood more. And also, the findings help my team support groups such as the QEDC going forward, would continue grant funding to act upon some of these findings.
Good. Great. Well, any more questions? If anybody has a question, they can throw it in the chat. And I think that you guys have all put in your links for contact if people want to reach out to you guys, correct? Okay, so that information is in there. Good. Well, thank you so much. It was, like I say, a pleasure working with you guys, and we look forward to continuing to work with you also, helping you in outreach and things like this too. So, and Matthew, Victor, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for the platform. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Good. And now, folks, probably the most contentious issue right now is the closure of the Astoria pool, this historic Robert Moses built facility, the largest pool in the city, and that has a long history going back to the Olympics. It's been a big part of, frankly, my neighborhood. I live here, right here by the park, and it's part of the old Astoria neighborhood. And we've been very involved throughout. Astoria Park has seen great changes and has had big investments, particularly in the last administration. It was considered an anchor park in Queens. That's why we have a new track and a new playground and erosion control. These are all great things. It's wonderful to see stuff done in a timely fashion. For those of you that have been around Astoria for a while, you know that for probably 30 years, the diving pool sat empty, and the only function it had was as an incubator for mosquitoes. So it's great to see in the last administration, things starting to move. The rest of the pools, updating is extremely important. It's something that has to be done. And we look forward to the results and to have a wonderful facility for the next generations to enjoy. But we also invited parks down to discuss what the issues might be, what exactly process they're doing. So I'd like to invite the Parks Department to join us. In particular, we have, when they appear, Stephen, hello.
Hello.
This is Stephen Maltz from the Parks Department. He's the Deputy Director of Engineering in Parks. Will the others be joining us also now, or are you presenting alone?
Yes, and Mira is going to give an introduction too.
Oh, there she is. Hello, Mira. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good to see you. This is Mira Burkauer, Chief of Staff of Queens Parks. We really appreciate her joining us. There's also some other Parks members that will join us later. And we look forward to hearing what you present. Obviously, one of the biggest issues, and you even heard this from the first presentation from the precinct commander, was that the timeline of this project is extremely important to people. We hopefully hear if there's any misconceptions, we can address them and figure out the best way to go forward for both the community and for the pool facilities and the city. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thank you, Richard. Again, my name is Mira Burkhauer. I'm the Chief of Staff for Queens Parks. I'm joined here tonight with Steve Maltz, Deputy Director of Engineering from our Capital Division. And then also in the background, not being shown right now, we have Tom Klinger, Park Supervisor, Alaire O'Connor, the Engineering Team Leader, also Capital Division, and Alejandra Vargas from our Partnerships for Parks team. So thank you. So as you know, Astoria Pool is a historic pool, and it's beloved by the community. The proposed repairs will ensure that this 87-year-old icon continues to serve future generations. We avoid closing amenities unless it's absolutely necessary. And unfortunately, as Richard had mentioned, Astoria Pool will be closed this summer for much needed repairs to the pool tub and mechanical systems. As I said, at 87 years old, many of the pool's features have reached the end of their service life. Our goal is to have the pool open for summer 2024. So just again, want to emphasize that our goal is to have it closed just for one season, just for this upcoming 2023 season. The recently renovated spray shower adjacent to the pool will remain open during construction, which will be a great option for families. And also posted in the chat our link to the outdoor pools that are throughout the 5 boroughs and also in Queens for use during this season. So I'd like to turn it over to Steve Maltz, who's going to go over the project scope with you.
Hello, everybody. I have a brief presentation that just gives a high-level overview of the work that we're doing at Astoria Pool. And as soon as that presentation's up, I will run through it. All right, so for this project, everybody knows where the pool is, so I'm just going to start with the goals. This project really falls into 3 basic categories, and one of those categories, as mentioned, is repair, replacement in kind. This is an 87-year-old pool, and it's in need of repair. Another category is anytime we do work of this nature, the Department of Health, who is the regulating agency for pools, considers this a significant upgrade and a time for us to bring the system up to current code. So another set of the project goals relates to bringing the system up to current code. And then lastly, it sort of falls into the category of updating, modernizing the system. So specific goals of this project were to replace the pool shell, the lining, the filtration, recirculation system, the backwash system, the chemical treatment systems. We're also upgrading the pool gutter system and surge tank to provide the required surge capacity. We're upgrading the electrical and the HVAC systems. We're repairing the pool deck, and we're bringing the pool and the related systems up to contemporary standards and codes. So the total budget for this project is $19 million, and we all know where the pool is, so I won't discuss that. But I want to go through what the visible elements are going to be to this pool project, and one of those would be the pool gutter. So the existing pool gutter is not code compliant. It does not remove enough water from the surface to keep the surface clean and free of particulates. And so we're installing a new pool gutter, which will have skimming all across the surface of the pool. I was out at the pool this week, and the wall for the new gutter is already in place. They were pouring the concrete this week thanks to unseasonably warm weather, and so that work is underway. The next element of the upgrade that would be physically visible is the proposed pool liner. The existing pool liner is a fiberglass liner. It requires extensive maintenance work every year. The proposed liner would be a PVC membrane, which covers the entire surface of the pool. It'll look pretty much the same as the existing liner, but it will be more waterproof and will protect the infrastructure better for the life of the liner. And then finally, the last really physically visible element of this project will be there's going to be some minor changes to the filter building. We have some existing louvers, which are, there are two. There's one here and one here that you can't see. And in the final project, there'll be 3 louvers on the outside of the building. Those louvers are going to be a little bit larger to provide better ventilation for the tunnel that goes around the pool, and for the chemical room and for the filter room. And as I said, I was at the pool this week. They have removed all of the filtration equipment. They have, if we go back to the pool itself, we have started doing some work on the main drain. We were required to increase the size of the main drain, so they've excavated to put in the new main drain, and that work is on schedule at this point in time. And that's all I have.
Okay. Okay. So I guess, like I say, the main question that we have is concerning the timeline. I know that part of the reason for this is there's been some other pools that have gone through renovation processes that have extended timelines. In particular, the one in Corona Park, which, if I'm not incorrect, was supposed to be closed less than 1 season and ended up being closed for 3 seasons. I'm sure there were mitigating factors, but when people hear things like that, and you also heard the discussion we had with the precinct commander concerning young people and keeping them busy and making sure that, in particular, that our youth have facilities to go to. These are all very important factors. So what can you say? From my understanding, part of the issue with the Flushing Park was the fact that there was problems securing proper equipment and replacement parts because they were unique and had to be fabricated. And then there was also the issue of the problems with the getting goods from overseas, which affected every industry. Do those still exist? Where do we stand in the process? Have all the procurement issues been dealt with before you even started to build? These are kind of questions I'm interested in finding out about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll let Stephen get into a little bit of the lead time for some of the equipment, but like I said, we're at a different place right now, and we are aiming for that only 1-year closure. But Steve, maybe you want to speak to a little bit of the some of the long lead items that we're looking into and making sure that we hit our target.
Sure. We have been pushing the contractor to get all his submittals in upfront as early as possible. We started off this project with the contractors, before we even brought them on board, explaining how important this pool was to the community, to the city of New York, and that we intend to hold them to a very tight timeline, and that we expect them to stay ahead of any issues that come up and keep us abreast. And to date, they really have been working well. So we have confidence that they will be able to bring the job to closure.
So I was going to say, we can't, obviously we can't, make predictions, but we really are trying to learn from, I don't know the particulars of the aquatic center in Flushing Meadows, but we're constantly learning from other projects, and we can only really speak to this project now. And we, like I said, our goal is to just have it closed for this season. And obviously we will, we keep the community board updated, and we can keep you updated as well to let you know if anything changes. But that's what we're working towards.
Are there any alternatives that Parks has some sort of control over? They can offer alternatives to our young people, to our senior citizens, where they can recreate in the summer and try and stay off the street corners and instead be in a wonderful cooling facility like this? What are the alternatives?
Yeah, so I posted that on the in the chat, so I hope it's posted, the outdoor pools that we have throughout Queens and throughout the 5 boroughs. So there are definitely alternatives. We are lucky that the spray shower just next to it was completed and will be open during the construction. So that's also a good opportunity for a place for families to go and cool off.
It's also been a thought that it might be interesting, and this is interagency. This is not specific to Parks, but to be able to find some sort of transportation capabilities to other pools and things like that from the park here. I know that, is this something that the Parks would support? I know it's maybe not something that you can control. It's not your part of the agency pyramid, but anyway, your support in something like this and pushing for it would be great. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you are speaking to anyone and you'd like us to join those conversations, we can.
Okay, we have a bunch of questions here, so let's see what we got. Okay. This is a question which I'm not sure that is actually a Parks question. It's about Shore Boulevard and when it will be reopened. I think that was originally closed by the NYPD, and it may be controlled by DOT now, but I'm not sure. I know that it has been controversial. Do you have any comments on that?
I think that's another conversation that we can have with with DOT and Parks, but I mean, it's not really related to the pool.
It's a different.
And so, yeah.
Okay, I think we've already answered the question that nobody knows exactly. Nobody can guarantee how long it will be closed. The next question is, how long will the pool be closed for 2 summers? And we just don't know at this point.
Right, but I do want to emphasize, I keep hearing 2 summers. We're not, at this point, we're not expecting it to be 2 summers. Right now, we're just expecting it to be 1 summer.
And one good thing is you've had a very mild winter, so you've probably been able to get a head start on stuff, which is very lucky, I think.
We have had a mild winter, and we have been able to do concrete work that we normally would not anticipate being able to do during the winter.
That's good. That's great. Okay, question. What about the locker rooms? That's not part of this contract.
It's not part of this contract. That's something that we would want to have. I know it's on the community board's wish list, and it's something that we would also hope to get funding for, but right now it's not a funded project.
Okay, one other project from around the pool would be the resurfacing of the terrace level also, which is in very bad shape. So we hope that you keep that on your radar.
Yeah, okay. Both on our radar.
Let's see, if there are delays in the construction, will summer 2024 be all or nothing, or could it open in July, let's say, halfway through the season?
That's a good question. I think we will, we would never wait to the last minute to see what would happen. We would have to take it as we hear about construction, and if it, and then figure out our options. So, again, that's hard for me to say right now, but, we would have to see what's going on next season and what would be required.
Okay. question about chemical treatment, chlorine or salt. I would assume that you're using chlorine, but maybe can you comment on that?
Certainly. The current system is a chlorination system, and the new system will also be a chlorination system. That is one of the areas where we are modernizing the system. So the new system will be an automatically controlled chlorination system, but it will also be a chlorination system.
Okay. Why is this expected to take 21 months? And again, it's a timeline question.
So I'll let Steve, but normally, I mean, we're doing a lot of work at the pool. So that's why it's in 21 months. That's actually not correct. If we're only, or I'll let Steve speak to it, but that seems very long. I don't think that's true.
The extent of the work was more than one pool season. And so we tried to give ourselves the maximum amount of time to do the work so that we could ensure that we would only be shut down for one pool season. So our goal was to begin this project as soon as the pool shut down this past year, and then to have the work complete before the pool opens, not this coming summer, but the following. And so that's how the schedule was developed.
Actually, this is important because I know that in comments that we were getting about this, a lot of people were questioning why you waited to start these construction in February when people actually saw it, the work being done, and not in September. But you're saying you did start in September. So
the project actually,
the
project actually started in October, and the first part of a project is required to do hazardous materials abatement. So while people may not have seen work physically taking place, work was taking place.
Good. That's great. It's very good to clarify that. That came up quite a bit. Okay, question. Why did you not put the underwater lights back? Now, again, I'm not quite sure about this. Were there underwater lights before? They may have been. It's something you can check out, right? Find out about, right? Okay, good. This is outside the park, but this is where the water misters around the new track ever turned on when construction finished. The water park next to the pool is an option for young children, but not everybody. And if they're not on, it would make sense in this situation maybe to make sure they get on.
Yeah, I mean, they should have been turned on, but it should be on for the upcoming summer.
Yeah, if you could check that out and get back to us, that would be great. Okay. More questions about Shore Boulevard. In your reconstruction, it seems the water jets in the pool seem to be missing. I'm not sure about if you could answer that.
So we are replacing the pool recirculation system, and the pool recirculation system is the water coming into the bottom of the pool and the skimming from the top of the pool. So we are adding additional bottom inlets to the pool. That was required by the Department of Health.
Anything happening with the diving area?
We are not doing any work in the diving area as a part of this project.
Okay. But that was an area I was quite involved in, and OANA was at one point it was going to have a performance space there, if you remember the history, though the funding disappeared for that, which is a shame. Okay. Since Parks is here, one of my favorite pet peeves is the toilet stalls where the slide. Let me start with this. Any questions that we have outside the pool, we would hope that you would bring it back to the appropriate people at Parks Department and get back to us. If you don't know the answer, we'd greatly appreciate that. Since Parks is here, one of our favorite pet peeves is the toilet stalls where the slide bolts are broken or missing summer after summer. It's the same stalls where people keep walking in on one another. Can Parks buy some $2 slide bolts? So we hope that you would get back to the appropriate maintenance people and see if we can deal with this.
Sure. And if possible, if these comments are available for us to, if you have them, to send them also, that would be helpful. But yeah, I'm taking notes of this.
And it looks like we have a little clarification on the water lights. When the pool was open until 10 p.m. years ago, and both pools did have lights, so it looks like it was something that happened at one point. So, one other thing, I know we received a complaint from somebody, and this is again not the pool, but it has to do with the lights around the running track. It seems that they're going on well before dusk, so they were complaining that this seems to be wasting a lot of electricity by putting them on so early. So maybe the timers could be adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
Something that came up. Okay. Well, we actually, what would you suggest we could do in terms of trying to get some of these other facilities taken care of, like the locker rooms and things like that? I mean, how would we address them? Through the community boards, through the elected officials? How should our audience actually make their wishes known?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely reach out to your local elected officials, reach out to the community board. I do know the community board knows about it and does have it on their list. And again, we have it on our list. So yeah, reaching out and to your local elected officials and also to your community board, so that way they have it on record how many people have reached out and are interested in the project.
Good. Okay, great. Let's see any more questions. I know you've answered a lot of questions, and we do hope the weather stays great. And we hope that there's no supply chain issues, and we hope that there's no labor issues. And if everything runs well, then we'll do well, and we'll have a pool back in 2024. Before we go, is it possible that some of your other colleagues may join us if they'd like to comment, like Partnerships for Parks, or somebody else is with us, as to what their programs are and what they're doing since they're here?
Sure.
Or maybe not. Oh, okay. Alejandra, hi.
Hi. As Richard kindly mentioned, I am from Partnerships for Parks. I am the outreach coordinator assigned to this district. So if you have any local parks in mind that you feel like need a little bit more love in terms of beautification, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I will put my information, or I'll provide my information so that it could be shared with you guys. Feel free to reach out, and I look forward to hearing about some of your inquiries.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to mention, this is not just for the panel, but also for the audience out there. If you have any ideas on other activities that can be done this summer within the parks facilities to make up for the fact that the pool is closed, any kind of activities. I know we have many things going on, like Zumba and runs in the park and a lot of different things. So I think that this is a situation where we can, if possible, increase these types of activities. I think would help everybody out. So any suggestions that you have from parks, anything that the audience has to send us, please do so. We do need the help, and we want to make sure that the quality of life of our neighborhood does not suffer from the closure. And, we look forward to everybody's comments. Okay. Anybody else from parks that would like to speak? I think you may have somebody else, right? Oh. The park supervisor, does he want to introduce himself?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think they were just here for support, but I don't know if they were.
Okay.
But they're happy to be here and listen to this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And in the audience, if you have any further questions, you have everybody's contact information in the chat, or you can reach out to us directly at Old Astoria Neighborhood Association. Victor, if you could put our website information in the chat again, that would be great. It's great to be back and having meetings again. our next meeting will be in April, and it's the same date on the 8th by coincidence. So far, we've booked one presenter, and that will be a presentation on the renovations from the Astoria Library on Astoria Boulevard and 14th Street. Renovations will be starting then, making it compliant for disability compliant, amongst other things. So we look forward to seeing everybody soon, and have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Thanks for having
I
us.
also